Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture series on VLSI lab. So in this lecture we are going to see lab number 7 specifically with respect to common source amplifier, and in detail we are going to see its schematic as well as layout. Okay, so in this lab we will be having the understanding of the common source amplifier. Now basically we will be dealing with three types of common source amplifier versions, wherein we are going to change the load and we are going to come out with three different varieties of common source amplifier. Now I have already created the library over here in the electric tool, and in the same library I am going to create a new cell by the name common source, and once I create that, once I do that, I can see I will just take this itself, the thing where I have already created this common source amplifier schematic file. Now in this platform we are going to perform an experiment related to common source amplifier. In the components you can see that there are different transistors and all the relevant components that are required for the drawing of schematics are already available. Now we will start with our common source amplifier. So I will just place the PMOS first. So I will place the PMOS first over here, and then I will place the NMOS. First we will try to build the circuits, and then we will try to explain why exactly this configuration is called by the name common source amplifier. Fine. Now I am just going to build the circuit first. Now the procedure whatever we have adopted to perform the schematics of the inverter remains exactly the same. The only difference is the nature of the circuit, or the characteristic of the circuit will be changing. So I require one PMOS and NMOS. So what I will be doing, I will be just joining them, and then I will be connecting the respective ground as well as the power supply. So here I am going to place the VDD, and here I am going to place the ground. I am going to join them. So I have joined it. So I am even going to connect the PMOS with VDD. Fine. Now here I am going to give the input to the NMOS, and I am going to take the output from this point, and I am going to tie up this portion back, like I will click left click, come here, right click, come here again, right click, come here again, right click. So this is what the tying up of things I am going to do. So I will try to rejoin them properly. Yes. And now I am going to name or create the exports of the inputs as well as the output. So first let me finish up the circuit, and then we will understand why this is called as common source amplifier. So this is controlling control E, so that is your VDD. The characteristics is power. This is control E again, and the characteristics is ground, and this is control E, it is my input, and the characteristics will be input. This is control E again, and the characteristics will be out, and this is my output. So in order to zoom in the alphabets, I will be using control plus option. Fine. Now it is clearly visible. Fine. Now why we call this as a common source amplifier? Now one thing we should remember here, when we draw an amplifier circuit, now this is my amplifier circuit. Now the amplifier circuit will be having two components. One will be the amplifier itself, and the other will be the load. See, please try to remember when the difference between a standalone amplifier and an amplifier circuit. When we say amplifier circuit, it involves everything. It involves load, the output resistance, input resistance, everything. Or to be very in a simple manner, the amplifier circuit involve both the amplifier as well as the load. But when I say only an amplifier, I can consider transistor alone as an amplifier, because we know that transistor can be considered, or is the or the main application of the transistor is as an amplifier. So the difference between an amplifier and an amplifier circuit. So when I say amplifier circuit, I should be drawing the load also. Now this is your load. Now this load is a PMOS load, and if you can remember in the microelectronics subject, we have seen the moment I connect the gate back to the drain, of course you should be remembering this portion is your source and this is your drain. So the moment I do this connection by tying up the gate back to the drain, this connection is known as diode connected format. Now why this is called as diode connected format, I'll try to make it clear in the next section, but let me try to give you a glimpse why this is called as common source amplifier. Now this is your load, and that's the reason you are taking the output across the load, and this transistor, which is your NMOS, that is a transistor which is acting as an amplifier. Now because the source of the amplifier, which is your NMOS, and the source or is here, is common to both input as well as output, we call it as a common source amplifier circuit. And the output is taken between the source and the drain, and the input is given between gate and source. And since source happens to be a common element between input and output, this feature or this structure is called as common source amplifier with diode connected load. Now why we require diode connected load? Why can't we use other loads? Of course we can use other loads as well, but I'll tell you the different kinds of loads that are available and what will be the result if I take different loads. All those things we are going to do that. Now let me try to reconstruct this in terms of other load, or the simple load. What we can have is the resistive load. So what I'll do, I'll try to copy paste it once again over here, and here I'm going to eliminate all these portion, and I'm going to place a simple resistor over here. So even this is also a common source amplifier circuit with resistive load. This is my resistive load, and this is also a common source amplifier circuit with PMOS connected or PMOS diode connected load. I can have here, you should be telling me whether can I have here NMOS or not, because normally we don't prefer NMOS load, because if I connect NMOS, then the source of, see what is the normal thumb rule that we follow, the source of the NMOS should be connected to the ground, and if I use an NMOS over here, in no way I can be able to connect the source of this NMOS to ground. Hence normally I cannot be using the NMOS as load, but of course with slight modifications I can use NMOS as load, but here for our laboratory work purpose we will be using PMOS as a load. Fine. So both these configuration are one and the same. The only thing is what is the objective or what is the role of this resistor and what is the role of this PMOS. It should be made very, very clear. Now when I say both the circuit are acting as a common source amplifier, which means the work that is carried out by this resistor should also result into the same value as that of the work carried out by this PMOS. So which means in one or the other sentence I can say this PMOS is behaving like a resistor or a simple element which passes the current with some resistance, because it is also behaving as a simple element which passes the current with some resistance. And when I only said that both the circuits are one and the same, so which means the characteristics of this and the characteristic of this should be same. I'll try to explain that in the subsequent section, but these are the two different kinds of common source amplifier with a different load. Okay, let us try to understand what exactly this diode connected load mean. Now if I consider a PMOS, so this is the structure of PMOS, this is my N well or N substrate. Now what exactly we have done here? See, as you can see, the gate and the drain are being shorted. So if I do the same thing over here, so this will be my oxide and this will be my metal. So what I am doing, I am going to short gate and drain. So the moment I short gate and drain, what is going to happen? Now as you can see, the charges that are present beneath the gate here are your negative charges, right? Of course they will be converted into positive charges once you apply some voltage, but this is what I am going to show you before you apply any voltage. So what is where you are applying the voltage? You are not applying any voltage to the gate. So if you are not applying any voltage to the gate, what exactly that mean? That mean no potential is being applied to the gate, and which means the channel formation won't happen. So no channel formation happens. So that means here in this area all the negative charges will be there as it is. So whatever the voltage I am going to apply, I am applying at the drain. Sorry, I am applying at the source. So here I am going to apply the voltage. So that is my VDD, and my gate and drain are being tied, as you can see over here. So this will result into gate is connected to negative charges, drain is connected to positive charges. So this will result into a formation of an implicit diode, which we call it as a PN junction implicit diode creation, and hence the PMOS, by connecting gate and drain together, behaves like a diode, and that's the reason we call it as a diode connected load. And what is the characteristics of a diode? So diode basically has a characteristics like this. If I consider this as V and this as I, the current rises linearly after threshold voltage. And how exactly your resistor behaves? If I consider an ideal resistor, or to be practical, if I consider a simple resistor, the characteristics VI characteristics of a resistor behaves will look like this. So if I compare both the characteristics of a diode and a resistor, I can say that the resistor or a diode is nothing but a kind of circuit which has a kind of linear relationship between V and I. So that means the characteristics of this circuit over here and the characteristics of the resistor over here, they are one and the same, and hence I said that the resultant operation of this circuit with resistor load and the resultant operation with the PMOS as a load will always be similar. But the only difference is that if I use a resistor, it will be difficult for me to fabricate, but if I use a MOSFET, it will be easy for me to fabricate. Hence my circuit, I will be considering this as my main circuit. Coming back to this electric, let us try to model the PMOS and NMOS by setting up the SPICE model. So this is the same procedure that we adopted when we did our modeling with respect to different MOSFETs in the inverter, and let me do the SPICE modeling with the NMOS as well. So when I do that modeling and I have already given the input, the next step is to write the SPICE code. So I have already a SPICE code with me written. How I am going to write the SPICE code? Go to the miscellaneous option over here, go to SPICE code, come over here, click it and edit that text by Control I, choose multi-line text. So multi-line text, I can write the SPICE code over here. Now since I have written the SPICE code, so let me try to edit it according to the circuit which I have. So the first line of the code is always the one which starts with V. So rest all things are as it is. Now I will try to explain what exactly this means. Now this is something different than what we have taken in the inverter, because in the inverter we have taken the pulse, but whereas here we are considering the sine waveform, because we are going to see the amplification and we are going to show the amplification with respect to a sinusoidal waveform. So I will try to show this what exactly this third line mean with respect to input once I simulate this thing. Fine. So let us save it, go to tool, simulation, SPICE, write SPICE tag and remove this, include none and all the things that you see over here like this. Save it, run it. Add a trace, input. Since I have taken the sinusoidal waveform, the sinusoidal waveform will come. Add trace, output, and output will also be sinusoidal waveform. Now, the key thing here to observe is whether the input signal has been amplified or not, and in order to see that, just check at the y axis. As you can see, input is in terms of millivolts and the output is in terms of volts, and since it is clearly visible the value of the output is quite larger than the input, I can say that the input has been amplified. And of course, you can see, since the basic nature of the common source amplifier is it's an inverting amplifier, and that is the reason you can see the output has been inverted. Now the question is, what is the thing that we have written in the third line of my code which has described the input? That is, we have described the input as a sine. So what exactly that means? We will try to understand that first. So this line indicates IN stands for the input, 0 is the initial value with respect to DC, and this 0 stands for the DC content that is present in the sine waveform is 0. So that means there are no DC component, and AC indicates the waveform what I am going to take is an AC wave. Sine indicates the nature of the waveform, it is sinusoidal in nature. This 0, it is indication that the sinusoidal waveform whatever is going to start, it is going to start from 0, that is the origin of the sinusoidal waveform. Now it is not to be confused with the origin that I have shown over here. This 0 indicates the basic nature of the sinusoidal waveform and not the nature that is shown here on the screen. The nature what I am showing here on the screen is described in the next line, in the next statement, which is 800 millivolts and 20 millivolts 10 MEG. So this 800 millivolts indicates you start at 800 millivolt, but whereas this 0 indicates the basic nature of the sinusoidal waveform which is going to start from 0 voltage or 0 time unit. So I can even remove this 0, nothing is going to happen, even the output will be coming as it is. So that is only to understand that the basic nature of a sinusoidal waveform is it is going to start from the origin. But we need to be understanding what exactly this 800 milli means. So this is 800 millivolt. So which means start the waveform at 800 millivolt, which you can see over here, and this 20 millivolts indicates when you start at 800 millivolts, go up to 820 millivolts. That is 20 millivolts is the amplitude. So as you can see over here, 20 millivolts it is reaching to the peak. So the peak voltage is 820, adding 20 to this 800 millivolt, and this 10 MEG indicates is a frequency, that is 10 megahertz. So if I consider one sine waveform which is over here, right. So if I just place my cursor over here, so if I place my cursor over here and just look at the bottommost corner over here, the moment I place the cursor over here, it is coming down to 100 nanosecond, and if I convert that in terms of frequency, that is nothing but your 10 megahertz. So this is the nature of the waveform. And what exactly this dot tran indicates? The dot tran indicates we are going to perform the transient analysis from 0 the time to 600 nanosecond, and that's the reason where we have stopped the simulation at 600 nanosecond. And what exactly this means? Start in a step of 0.25 nanosecond, or basically the resolution of the waveform. So these are the indications that are mentioned in the third statement of the SPICE code, and accordingly we have obtained the result. So this is all about the transient analysis of a common source amplifier with a diode connected load. Now this is with respect to the schematic. Now if I want to perform the layout of the same schematic, so let's try to do that. So on the library, create new cell, click on the layout and say or give a name. So I am giving it as a cs_lay. So a layout file is being created. So let me do it once again. So let's look at the schematic, and since this schematic is a non-symmetrical circuit, basically, which means it is the circuit wherein the Euler's graph or the Euler's rule will fail, and hence the layout whatever we are going to draw will adhere to the properties that is man-made. In a sense, I am not going to concentrate on the Euler's graph, rather I am going to draw the layout as per the position of the transistors that I can see. Meaning, if I can see a transistor sitting in this way, facing facing on the right side, opening its mouth on the right side with the input gate on the left side. So I'll also be placing on the layout of the same way, which means I am placing the polysilicon or the gate in a horizontal mode, and I am going to place the source and drain in the vertical mode. So let's try to do that. So I am going to start with first the NMOS. So I'll take it, and because NMOS had its gate in the horizontal direction, I'm going to place it that way only. Sorry. So this is already I have drawn it. I'm going to reach this at the end of my construction of the layout. I'm going to reach the same structure. So this is how I have already drawn it. I'm going to show. I am now showing you how you are supposed to proceed drawing the layout. So I'm going to place it. So let me minimize it. Okay. So the size I'm going to maintain. So considering the layout, so I have already the file layout being created, and now I am going to place the different components. So this is the layout at the end I am going to see, as I was telling, and now I am going to show you how to reach this particular stage. So let me go to the layout file which I have created. So go to the components. So I will start with an NMOS, and since NMOS gate is horizontally placed, I am going to place the NMOS without rotation, and I am going to mention the width as the same thing what I have mentioned during the schematic. Okay, so this is my NMOS, and how do I complete the NMOS structure? I need to be placing the N active regions on both of the sides. So I am going to place N active over here, and fine, if you are getting the DRC errors, we will try to eliminate that at the end. N active here also, and try to make the sizes of the N active similar to the NMOS. Basically this component which is there in the middle. So this is also I will make it as 10. Okay, and then what was the procedure? See, the same procedure we adopted, the only difference was these were vertically spaced in the inverter, but now since we are not following the Euler's graph, and since this structure inverter, this transistor NMOS is not following the Euler's graph, I am going to place the components the way how they are looking in the schematic. So basically the gate is now here horizontally placed, so which means the polysilicon, the red section, it will be horizontally placed, and that is the reason you can see the red section here, and beside both the red section you can see the active region. So I am going to join it, left click over here, come down, right click and push it down until they are close enough, and the similar action we are going to perform here as well. So yes, so I have joined both of them, and I am going to create or set the spice model. Control, clicking the control button, you press this many times until you can see a white patch. Leave the control button, drag the spice model, control I, name it as NMOS. Okay, now this is your NMOS, and similarly I require PMOS over there. So I will take the PMOS, I will place it, and even for the PMOS also the gate is horizontally placed, but the only difference is the width is 20. So I will make it as 20, and on either side of the PMOS I am going to place the P active region, one here and one more here. I am going to place them little distant apart so that they follow the lambda based design rule. I am going to adjust the width of this active regions. So I'll make it as 20. Yes, so this is also 20, and then I'm going to join them. Left click, come down over here, right click, left click, come down over here, right click over here, bring it close enough such that this patch is mingled with the PMOS. Yes, now for just my understanding purpose to see whether everything is right, I'll just run the DRC, and now there are 2 errors, and preferably these errors would be because, yes, because of the distance issues, one over here and over there, and try to place them little closer and try to run it once again. Yes, possibly now there are no errors, as you can see over here. Fine. Now this PMOS and NMOS are the structure which are resembling exactly that of your structure, as you can see over here. The horizontal path is your gate, source and drain, gate, source and drain. So everything has been done as per the thing, but now I need to be joining the gate back to the source. But in order to do that, I need to be, let's see, I need to be joining the drains of both PMOS and NMOS together. I need to tie it and then get out one particular node as output. So I'm going to join this one over here, and the joining will be done automatically with the help of a metal. And this portion, left click over here, come down, right click, again come down, right click, again come down, right click, exactly. So automatically the connection will be considered, and extract one node out of it, left click, come down over here, right click, and metallic extraction will be considered, and create an export here, and that will be your out. And yeah, I have not modeled this, I will just try to set the spice model for this as well. So this is my control I, that will be my PMOS, and I need to be placing the N well and P well, that I forgot, so I will be doing that. For NMOS, I will be placing P well, and I will adjusting the width accordingly, and I will be joining them. Right. And for PMOS, I will be placing the similarly N well, and I need to be joining it. So for PMOS, I need to be placing N well, so I will just try to adjust the width, size being 20, sorry, size being 20, and then I will join this portion over here. And now this is control export, that is control E, VDD, and the characteristics is power, and the below portion is control E, ground, and the characteristics is ground. And where is that input you are going to give? The input is given to this gate. Remember, you can see here the input is given to the gate of the below MOSFET, that is NMOS, and the same thing I am going to do it over here. Here, control E, V in or in, and the characteristics is input. So this is what is the structure, and of course I need to be bringing them close enough. So once I finish up, this is the entire structure I am going to come up with, and try to run the DRCs, and of course no errors, and this is where what exactly we were supposed to get. So this is my common source amplifiers layout. The same thing is over here. Now I have already mentioned all the names. So now I am going to write the spice code, the same spice code whatever I have written for the schematic. So this is my PMOS, VDD, this is V out, of course V out is here, I can take it here because both the drain and the gate are being shorted. So this is my V out. So I have taken all those things, and I have written the spice code. Now once I run this simulation spice, write spice deck, just remove all the parameters over here, include none also you remove, and you can see the similar parasitics are being generated at three sides. One parasitic capacitance is at the input side, one parasitic capacitance is at output side, one parasitic capacitance is at the VDD side. And as a design engineer, always our goal should be to reduce the parasitic capacitance. And also here also you can see along with the description of length and width, I can also see the parameter, area of the source drain, parameter of the source drain, every information I can see. Save it, run it, plot pane, add trace, V in, yes, perfectly alright, V out, exactly. So I'm going to get the outcome of the common source amplifiers layout, and that's what we are expecting, and it is exactly matching that of your inverter schema, common source schematic as well as layout. So that means our designed common source amplifier is perfectly alright. So that's what we have learnt in this today's lab. Basically we understood the concept of building the schematic as well as layout of the common source amplifier circuit with the help of a electric tool. So in the next lab we are going to continue with the common drain amplifier, and we are going to perform similar operations wherein we are going to see how to start the common drain amplifier with a schematic first and then coming down to layout. So thank you for the patience listening. Thank you once again.